guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm back in the old place.
Yeah,
back in the old
this
location.
is a bit weird, isn't it? It feels
Old
familiar.
school. It's nostalgia.
Feels familiar.
There's a real vibe for nostalgia lately, I've noticed.
But like,
We're feeling it.
I mean, just in the short time I've been away, the size this property has grown by astounds me every time.
We've had the servants working hard.
Yeah, you can tell. In fact,
Thank you.
I saw one scrubbing the floors with a toothbrush when I came in.
I'm so sorry you had to see that.
Yeah.
We try not to let people see the servants.
Yeah.
I hope you didn't make eye contact.
A little bit. You're going to have to beat
You
him.
have to lose another one.
Now, when you say lose, what's happening to these poor fuckers?
Legally, I can't say.
Wow.
Because it doesn't cover me in glory. Although I'm not performing any acts.
No?
The other servants perform the acts.
Wow. It gets
It's a tight
darker the
ship.
deeper you go.
Yeah, you don't want to go too deep.
No?
That's what she said.
Traditionally, it's what I'm known for.
What, going too deep?
Yeah.
Not what I've heard.
That's what Big Daddy's big motto is.
Oh, Big Daddy
Go
Big.
deep.
Big Daddy Big goes too bit deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just whether you go too deep.
But I am also Big Daddy Big, so somewhere in here,
I feel like that's
I go
like
deep.
part of you though.
It is part of me.
Do you know what? How deep? It's a deep part of you.
It really is.
Too deep.
Yeah, it is too deep.
Big Daddy Deep's. Big Daddy Big's too deep inside of you.
Always. Yeah.
That's an excellent
And,
start.
and in some way, I think he's likes to be at least deep inside of everyone.
What I love is that
I think there's a bit of Big Daddy Big in all of you.
he was like a throwaway line in one episode, and he's pretty much appeared in most things we've done.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm all right with
Big Daddy Big.
Big Daddy Big. Right, so we had some questions left over, didn't we, from another pod, so we thought we would just
Yeah, some topics.
to go through them.
You can kick things off, my man.
Okay. What's the worst customer experience you've ever had at work? Like dealing with one.
From me being on the end of being...
Yeah.
Oh, man, there have been so many.
What's the one that stands out in your mind?
There's a few that are like quite tough, but they're just customers you just have to experience. They're like a rite of passage almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The worst one, yeah, it's really tough, man. I mean, in terms of a customer, probably the one who accused me of being racist.
Okay.
That's up there.
I've had that as well.
She was having a shouting match with another customer,
Okay.
absolutely slagging each other off.
Yeah.
And I just said to them both, no, you want to slag each other off, you do it outside.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that in here.
This is the family establishment.
And the thing is, every time he went to walk away, she would say something in French.
Right.
And he'd be like, I know you're talking shit about me, kind of thing. Like, I know you're talking about me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you need to stop.
Yeah.
I said, because the only way this ends is if one of you leaves.
Yeah.
And every time he's about to leave, you keep pulling him back. And I said to him as well, I was like, you need to ignore it and go.
Yeah.
And then she was like, oh, you just see an angry black woman, don't you, you racist? And I was like, well, right now, in my defence, you are an angry black woman. Like, you are
You are exactly what you say.
actively
I see.
angry.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
And
I was
you,
just like,
you
look.
happen to be black.
So I just kind of like, I don't know, I didn't know how to respond, because it's not a nice thing to be told. And then you start questioning yourself and kind of think, who am I to say that her experience
because the
isn't
thing
real?
is,
But
at least in, like, you know in yourself that you would have done that if that was two white people having an argument.
I was doing it to both of them. I was doing
Yeah.
it to both of them.
Right.
But I had to question it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you kind of think, well, she's the one experienced. I don't get, I've said to you before on this podcast, we don't get to tell someone that their experiences aren't real or aren't valid.
I get that. But I have.
What's yours?
Oh, there's probably two, but the one that, like, the cheekiest one I ever had was there was a lady that lived across the road from the store I worked in, and she'd bought some rolls in the store, and when she got them home, they were mouldy, and she came back in, and she was like, "My rolls are mouldy. I bought them this morning."
Ooh,
And I was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry about that. I'll give you a refund and a replacement product." And she was like, "What else are you going to do for me?"
mate, what do you mean, what else?
And I was like, "Pardon?" And she was like, "What else are you going to do for me?" I said, I don't understand the question. And she was like, "Well, I've been inconvenienced. I came here, bought my rolls, wanted to have my lunch. I go home and the rolls are mouldy and I've had to come back and get new rolls." And I was like, "I can see your flat from here." Like, she literally lived across the road, so she wasn't being inconvenienced at all. And I said, and also...
Well, look, she was. Like, she was
Well,
a
the
little
thing
bit.
is, and that's why I'd already said, you get a replacement product and your money back.
You get free rolls.
Yeah, you're going to get 3 rolls out of this. And she was like, well, that's not enough. And at this point, I was just intrigued. And I was like, so what would be, out of curiosity? And she was like, well, I'd want 2 boxes of chocolates and
Mate, don't we
4
all?
pints of milk. And I just went, well, then that's not going to happen. And she was like, why did you ask? And I was just genuinely curious what it was your request
Had to know.
Yeah.
Had to know.
And she got really arsey, and I was like, well, look, I've been really polite. I've offered you your money back and a replacement product. That's the best I can do for you. If you're going to she started getting quite aggressive. I was like, if you can start being rude, I won't even do that for you, and you can deal with head office.
Oh, yeah, no, tell her like, to be fair, my worst customer experience was when I was in the betting shop.
Yeah.
And the guy basically waited outside for me.
Really?
And he was like throwing things around the place.
What did you do to him? I think you might have told me this
Well,
before.
no, he came in at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
He'd gone out to get some shopping,
Yeah.
and he decided to come in and sit on one of the machines.
Yeah.
He'd sunk a lot of money in them, and about 6 o'clock he was actually up. It was only about 100 quid or so,
But he
he'd
was
sunk
up.
a lot of money. But he was up, and he said to me, I was doing the promotional changeover in the windows, and he said,
Yeah.
get ready, I'm cashing out.
Yeah.
I'm coming out and I'm going home. That was about 6 o'clock. We shut at 10.
Mm.
So come like 10 to 10, quarter to 10. And even before that, I'm like, just to remind you, we shut at 10.
Yeah.
And then it gets to the point where I'm like, okay, listen, man, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to...
Yeah, I'm finished
I'm going to
now.
have to call... I'm going to have to end the session. You can't...
Yeah.
You know, I've got to close up. And he was like, oh, are you happy to fucking watch me gamble? I was like, but first of all, I mean, I never said this, but in my head I was like, no, I'm not happy. I think it's a damning indictment of your addictive personality and the
Yeah.
fact that the gambling industry is set up
It's
not
not
to
good
help
for
you.
you that you're doing
I'm
this.
not happy that the company's taking your money for it. However, as I said, as I did point out to consultants, I was like, look, man, you're aware enough to know what was going on. I said, you were up. You were
could have
ready
got
to
out.
take it away with a win,
Yeah.
with a profit. Said, and then you spent the next 4 hours losing it all.
Losing it
Like,
all.
what you do when you're in this shop is not my responsibility. I said,
No, it's not.
But making, being here to open and close, that is my responsibility. And right now it's my responsibility to close.
Yeah, so you need to leave.
Yeah, so that was probably the worst one. That was the one that triggered. That was the incident that
How
made
did that
me
make
think.
you feel?
Well, like scared.
Yeah.
He was a big guy. He was a well-built guy.
Yeah.
was
But
like- he
like,
was
did
like
you
a
feel
gym bro.
guilty afterwards or
No, not at all.
No.
But it did make me leave the job
Yeah.
because I was on my own.
It's a lot of
By the way, I should
desperate
point out
people,
that
isn't it?
You tend to.
You
There's
tend to
quite
be on your own in betting
There's a lot
shops,
of
don't you?
opening and closing on your own, so you're with someone else for like the busy hours. But
Yeah.
And then I said the next day my manager came in, or rather I came in, and he was already there. And I went through the situation, and he just kind of went, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Bro, I don't want to be in an environment where like that
I'm
level
getting
of sort of
threatened, yeah.
violence is treated in such a casual way, as if like well, that's what happened."
Because the thing
It's like,
is,
no, that's not what happened.
You don't. So what happened in the end? Did you just wait for him to leave and then?
Not went out the back door.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Because no one should have to be treated like that at work. And the thing is, like, you're not at fault for the situation going on there. You're just trying to earn a living, and in the end, you weren't comfortable with working there. So,
Well, like I said, it wasn't so much the incident itself; it's the fact that it was seen as the norm.
yeah,
It's just an
you're gonna
occupational
get-
hazard kind of thing. It's like,
you
no,
might
I
get your
don't
head
want to.
kicked in.
If that's an occupational hazard, that's not my occupation.
Yeah.
That's not the occupation.
It's a weird
for me.
one because in most other places, like even working in retail, you're told if a customer's aggressive towards you, we're just going to ban them. We're not going to tolerate it. So it's
No, yeah, you don't.
yeah.
You don't put yourself in harm's way. You call the police.
No, and like as you said, you were completely on your own as well.
Mm.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
Cool.
Nice.
Okay, questions. So, what do you think? Bearing in mind that it's World Cup season.
Yeah.
What do you make of World Cup and wider than World Cup football novelty songs in general from the squads and the players? Do you see it as like a fun team building, or do you see it as a sort of distraction, pointless distraction?
I'm sort of indifferent to it, I guess. I mean, I didn't grow up with, like, there's that England rap in Gavin
World
and
Order.
Stacey. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, John Barnes.
Yeah.
You get to hold and
That's the one,
give, but do
yeah.
it at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
was it you can be strong and fast, but
you must get to the land. We gotta hit 'em and hurt 'em.
But that was like before our time, so to speak, I guess. And I don't really remember any. The only one famous football song I knew growing up was Three Lions, and that was it really. I think, to be honest, it depends how cringy it is.
They're always cringy. Like,
Yeah.
Three Lions, I would say, is like the exception. But when you look back, like Ant and Dec did one. I know Ant and Dec can't football.
Yeah.
Waddle and what about Glenn Hot? What about not Glenn Hoddle? What Terry Venable was doing, "If I Can Dream" by Elvis.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's great. I mean, it's not like a World Cup song thing. He just he's one of them geezers. That's a geezer, so
I think
gets on the show and he sings.
I personally would just rather the players were focusing on
Fog on the
winning
Tide,
World Cup.
Gaza and.
Well, to be honest, like you could make an argument looking back that all these like little distractions are the reasons why we haven't capitalised on the talent we've had over the years. It's not going to be the only reason, but I don't think it helps. So yeah, don't do it.
Not a fan of it.
No,
because it makes you look a tit if you lose as well, doesn't it? Like when they do for the FA Cup final.
Well, like it did annoy me during the Euros, in the last tournament, because there was people don't understand what football coming home is and what that whole movement is when we all get swept up in it, and that really bugged me.
What you mean of foreign
yeah,
press
everyone
and
else
foreign...
thought that it was this arrogant, and it wasn't. It's a very self-deprecating. Like
We're
England
shit and we
fans,
never
we're
win.
more than aware of how shit we are, and that football very likely isn't ever coming home for like God knows.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you just end up looking like tits on a world stage when I'd rather the players were just enjoying themselves.
You're
And
not a
enjoy
fan. You
playing
wouldn't
football.
have them.
No, probably not actually. What about you?
Yeah, I kind of like them. I kind of think there's a kind of, like I said, it's a kind of fun. It helps you get swept up in the mania of it if your team releases a song.
I think it looks better the further on you go from it, maybe, because
You
like
can look back and go, how
because if this
stupid
current
were we?
England squad released some sort of rap song about how they're going to win the World Cup in Qatar, and then we go out in the group stage, like we're not going to be very impressed with that, and no one's going to feel swept up in it. But like further on, it might be like, oh, how hilarious was that song? Do you know what I mean? The further you get away from the pain of it.
You know, it's interesting because I was listening to an interview with David Baddiel recently.
Okay.
And he was talking about because they were talking about it must be great. It's like your own kind of Christmas song. They were like every couple of years, ka-ching, money in the bag.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, first of all, it's it's not every year like Christmas. Second of
Yeah.
all, no, do you remember all those times we didn't qualify? and when we go out in the first round in the group
Yeah.
stages, the song drops straight out of the charts immediately. There's no
Yeah.
ka-ching.
No.
It's like England need to be a lot better for me to be more profitable.
Yeah, it's very
I mean,
true.
it's still done they've done well at that song.
Yeah. He's not going hungry, is he?
Certainly not.
No, none of them are.
They could retire and live off that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But yeah, it's I don't mind the novelty songs.
I don't care enough that it would personally bother me. Like,
Novelty songs have pretty much died out. Like in
Like,
this kind of 70s, 80s, 90s, they were everywhere, and now
Yeah.
they're pretty much nowhere.
if England did one for this tournament, which I'm pretty sure we'd have already had it by now if they were, but if they did and then didn't win the World Cup, my instant reaction wouldn't be it's because they sang a song. It would just be because it's England.
Which player would you want doing the first line of the rap? I know which one I'd want.
Rice, baby.
Oh, no, that's good. You went serious.
Yeah.
Like Harry Maguire.
Why?
Because I know he's going to be in the squad.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't be. And I just think it'd be great him standing there giving the odd, like, you've got to hold and give.
And do it at the right
But obviously
time.
we'll do our own lyrics.
Yeah. To be honest, I almost feel bad for Harry Maguire because it's quite clear he's not up to the task.
It's not his fault.
No, but like Gareth Southgate is giving everyone the illusion that he can do it, and he's just being forced into more and more situations where it's like he shouldn't be here. Like it's almost abusive at some point.
Ten Hag reckons he can get back to full. Or at least
You've
that's what
got to
he's
say
saying.
that though, isn't it? You've spent 65
Well, I
million
don't
quid
know.
on him.
You and I
Well,
both.
he didn't, but the club
We've
has.
both seen managers that don't say that.
True, but I think he's got to try and keep him on side in case he needs him. Because if Martinez or Varane get
Lindelof
injured,
or Varane, yeah.
but yeah, I'm just overall not that bothered about football songs. They can do them if they want. You just might look a bit of a tit if it goes wrong.
Always look a bit of a tit. It'd be like
Yeah.
it was like Alan Pardew dancing in the FA Cup final.
Yeah, do that when you've won. Do you know what I mean?
Would you allow the England squad if they won the World Cup a novelty song?
What about winning the World Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
No,
If any
that's not
country
asking.
wanted to do it, yeah, if you've won the World Cup, then, you know, wank yourselves off for a bit. Do you know what I mean?
I
Why
imagine
not?
North Korea will have one when they win it.
Yeah. It'd be about how amazing Kim Jong-un is.
How he led them, how he inspired them to victory.
Yeah, scored 500 goals in the tournament.
He's good.
Never needed to shit
He
once
is
either.
good. He's good.
He is a glorious leader, Jake. I don't know what else to say.
End it there.
Yeah, that's the end of the pod,
That's
I think.
the end of the
really.
pod.
Yeah, just end it on that. Kim Jong-un's just a glorious leader.
Next week, neither of us were replaced. We both said the right things.
Yeah, exactly. And I just want to say I'd never take my life under any circumstances.
If I die, it's suspicious.
Yeah, if I've died, it's because the Koreans have killed me.
No, but, you know, I'm not saying it's the Koreans. Someone's killed me. Because let's be honest, this guy's threatened it. You've threatened it to me.
Yeah, if you found out I heard, if anyone suspects I might be unwell, just put Jake into hiding.
So you've got a good opportunity now. If you get a terminal diagnosis in the coming months,
Yeah.
you could blame the Koreans. You could try and...
Well, who's to say it's not the Koreans, Jake?
I like it, you're playing the long game. I don't like it because it's my life on the line, but I like it.
The thing is, if you've said bad shit about the Koreans and suddenly you die, I'm pretty sure it's got something to do with the Koreans. I don't know what they've done, you know, but they could have done something, and you don't have any evidence that they haven't.
I don't.
Exactly.
But someone will.
Yeah.
Please.
The Koreans.
This podcast should just be evidence.
Yeah. Could you imagine that if that was our legacy? We both dead, but it took down the North Korean tyranny. And we get celebrated for all of time in North Korea as the liberators of North Korea.
I wouldn't mind that at all.
No, we wouldn't be alive to see it though, Jake.
No, but think of the numbers
And I
we
want to
do.
be alive to
Think
see
of
a
the
free
numbers we
North
do.
Korea. The numbers would be insane. The Asians get proper behind stuff.
A lot of them. No, that's really... No, we're not going down that route.
I mean, I took it to the border and you were just like, let me kick it over the line.
Let me come and smash the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Your
You're
legacy,
going deep, bro.
your legacy is free North Korea. Mine is getting cancelled for racism.
On the same podcast.
I just want to apologise to that
Just
Asian
imagine
populace.
statues of me in North Korea instead. It'd be a glorious thing for everyone.
Yeah, but then I feel like you just replace Kim Jong-un.
No, if I did, I'd be a benevolent leader.
And you think that's the kind of attitude that makes me worried for your reign.
No, look. I know, now we're getting into an episode we still can't currently do, aren't we? How we'd
Yeah.
behave if we were a tyrant.
Yeah.
So moving swiftly on, what's the most embarrassing moment you've had at work?
At work,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really get embarrassed very easily, and I think
No?
I like to think that you know me well enough to know that that doesn't happen. 'Cause generally, I just roll with everything.
No, but I thought maybe there might have been a mistake where you left red-faced or...
I get red faced. I got yeah. I mean, I chat myself at work, and
Yeah.
the revelation was, I was doing a job. I don't want to get too technical or detailed here, but doing a job. Thought it was a fart. Wasn't
Yeah.
a fart.
Yeah.
Gone to the toilet, cleaned myself up. Found emptied the toilet paper out of the bag it comes in. You know, the wrapping.
Yeah.
Used that to put my pants in, which are now completely just destroyed.
Ruined.
And I came out, and my boss was there, or my line manager that day, and he was like, "Are you all right, mate?" And I went, "Well, they're my pants." And just sort of held them up. And a few days afterwards, when I came back to
Yeah.
work, he did say, he's like, "I got to be honest," he's like, "That wasn't how I thought you'd reveal that you were feeling unwell." He's like, "It was kind of very brash."
Yeah.
It's very, very, yeah, I can't remember the word he used to describe it, but it was very forward.
Yeah. That's fair.
What about you? Do you have any
Exactly
embarrassing
the same
moments?
thing.
Shout yourself.
Yeah, shat myself at work. I was really unwell. I think I got food poisoning or something. And I hadn't gone sick for years. And I remember texting my boss and I was like, I'm really sorry, I've got food poisoning. He couldn't cover the store because he had a stock take at another store the next day and he was helping. So he was like, I can get to the store by 10, 11 o'clock. So he's like, just sit in the cash office. You know, you've got enough people in tomorrow, so just sit upstairs and I'll come and let you go at some point. And I remember I literally fell asleep in the cash office, and literally as I was getting ready to leave and I was buying like a can of soup or something just to have something to eat. And as I bent down to pick up the can of soup,
Just went.
it just went, and I was like, gee, and I had to go upstairs, clear myself up. Because I didn't want to go home not wearing pants for some reason. I phoned my mum, was like, "Can you just come and pick me up, please?"
And bring some pants. Yeah, that's good. I've had moments as well where, do you know, when you think you've got a good rapport with a customer and you're joking with them, and then suddenly they're not joking, and you're like, "Bro, what? I thought I knew what was happening there."
Yeah, I thought we were
They
friends.
suddenly take offence to something you've said. Not offence, but they're just like,
it ruined the conversation.
they take it very seriously, and you're like, "Bro,
I thought we were just being light-hearted." The worst ones for me is when you get customers say things that are either racist, misogynistic, or just offensive in some way.
Oh yeah, I hate those.
And there's someone you normally get along with as well, and you're stood there like it's the reverse. Suddenly you stop, and you're just like, "Oh." I'm just like, "Yeah," and then I normally just try and like walk away.
Yeah,
but those are the most awkward ones.
There's one place I was working. There was a really I mean, she's clearly like on the spectrum, but like really deeply on the spectrum. Needs like a carer.
Yeah.
She had this carer. They had to, first of all, her house. She lived in a really nice place, but it's in like a kind of country manor, and it's like, you know, the old lodge at the gate. Really nice. And when you spend like 5 minutes with her, you're like, oh, because she can't be near anyone else, because the neighbours would fucking hate it. No, she's just very loud.
Oh,
that's her thing, and she's very shout, and she's very and she's like boff, 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 and that's why she ended up buying like, so it was when I was working at the furniture place, and she ended up buying like 4 different wardrobes off of us, and we were all like, fuck it. And then when we delivered them once, we saw her going through it, and it was like, oh yeah, I see why. It's like boff, 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 boff.
Jesus.
Apparently, when the guys were delivering it as well, she was the gas engineer turned up.
Okay.
And she just shouted out like, I don't want white men in my bedroom. But she was there was a carer with her once when she came into the shop, and it was so funny because she was like, "No, I'm going to get this the wrong way around."
But the thing is, people are taking it the wrong way. If she just said, "I only want white men in my bedroom,"
between the carer and the woman herself, one of them was Jamaican or of Jamaican origin, and one of them was Nigerian. And this woman, she was going around and she was going to a carer going, "Are you going to fucking help, you lazy bitch?" And then I swear to God, she was like, she made it worse because she was like, the reason I say, you know, one was Jamaican, one was Nigerian, she was like, "You fucking Nigerians, you're all lazy, you're all the same."
Shit.
And clearly this woman had dealt with her because she just ignored.
Yeah.
And was like, are you done? You need that? And it's like, oh, mate, that was one. But again, that's one you just have to experience. Do you know what I mean? You just have to experience that.
Yeah.
And you learn pretty quickly that anything she says, it's like, oh, okay, yeah. You know,
take it with a pinch of salt.
But yeah, no, I'm with you on that. When someone reveals like a racist side or a homophobic side,
yeah,
do you know what I always do when someone reveals a homophobic side?
What?
Come out as gay. Always.
Oh, that's funny. I suck cock.
Well, no, the other guy was like, I had one guy when he was like, and I was, you know, one of those things where they dance around it because they're like always politically incorrect. I'm like, no, I'm going to make you say it. If you want to cunt off an entire group of people, I'm going to make you say what people you're going to cunt off. And he was like, oh yeah, well, you know, it must have been the day of Brighton Pride.
Okay.
He was like, yeah, I sometimes go down Brighton, you know, they're down there, aren't they? And I was like, oh,
who's they?
Who? He's like, well, you know, all them lot having a parade. And I was like, oh right, for what? Like who? And he proper went on it, and he was like, you know, you know, like all the. He's
Please say something like all those poofters.
He says all the gay people, and he's like, listen, he's like, you know, he said something. I was like, I didn't know that's today. I was like, I might have gone. And he was like, boy, what do you want to go down there with all them lot? And I was like, well, I'm one of them. And he was like, no. We thought, well, you know, but I mean, yeah, and did that classic thing.
Yeah,
He was like,
you're
all right. And I was like, mate, the sooner this conversation is done, the better.
Yeah, there's a funny clip of, I think it's Guz Khan, and he's in.
I love Guz Khan. Very funny.
There's a video of him and the guy from Phone Shop, and he's dressed like a Tory, basically, pissed as a fart. And Guz Khan's just sitting there, they're both in the waiting room, and he starts going on about how shit the NHS is and everything like that. And Guz Khan just ends up playing along with it and saying all the buzzwords like, do you know what? Now we've stopped from coming here. Let's get rid of the fuckers. And he's like, God, yes. Because he was like, I'm coming from a, you know, but you're one of the good ones.
That's good. No, that's good.
I'll have to tag you in it if I see it come up on Twitter.
Yeah, again. Please do. I like I said, I do like Guz Khan.
Yeah.
Very funny. Here's something I wanted to talk to you about.
Shoot.
And it's something that I don't know how I feel on it, weirdly. I sort of have an opinion, but then I'm not sure about it. I'm not sold on my own opinion, if that makes sense. So what do you make of this trend of celebrities writing books, and then because of their name brand and stuff, they sort of automatically become best-selling authors.
Okay.
And then, you know, they kind of, and that's it. And then they just decide, and because it's a success, they're like, well, I'll write more. And then it kind of,
And then you get the situation where like Jordan's got 10 books
Part
out.
of me thinks it kind of dilutes down, and it kind of takes up space for authors who don't have that name brand, who are trying to like fight and beat authors.
Yeah.
And someone's just swanning in and using their already established presence to dominate the market a little bit.
I think you'll probably find it's being caused by the publishers needing to continue to sell books, because I would imagine with things like Kindles, the actual sale of like physical books is probably down. Or in general, I think in general, I would imagine people reading has gone down in recent years. I would imagine.
Well, I mean, I was
wave
looking
of
at the numbers
internet.
of the recent top 3 best-selling hardbacks.
Yeah.
And their new releases, so they're not necessarily out on, they're just hardbacks.
Yeah.
And it's hardback. And each one, the top 3 tended to sell in the region of 5,000 copies.
Yeah, which isn't a huge amount, is it?
It's
really?
not nothing for 1 week.
No. Oh, in 1 week, fair enough. Yeah, I would have just thought bigger numbers than that. For some reason, when I think like a best-selling book, I'm
Hardback,
imagining...
then you see the prices of the hardback.
Yeah, they're normally, what, over 15 quid? Probably 17?
20 quid,
Yeah.
20, 25 quid.
Yeah, and I think they know probably with certain demographics of people, they will just buy a book from someone they like. So that's why you do keep getting... I think it's probably a bit of a... They need to keep their sales up, so it's being pushed probably by the publishers themselves.
I'm going to pick people that I really like here. So Richard Osman, I quite like.
Yeah.
He obviously wrote the Thursday Murder Club,
Yeah.
and has written 2 sequels to it, and is planning a 4th
Oh, wow, okay.
or a 3rd sequel. He, you know, I don't begrudge anyone writing a book. I'm like, if you've got a book in you,
Yeah.
I don't begrudge that. But then they're all bestsellers.
Yeah.
And they all went straight away into the top. And it's nothing to do with the books, with the greatest respect. It's because
It's
he's
the
a
name
name, he's a
behind
thing.
it. Okay.
Dawn French,
Yeah.
who almost
Are
exclusively
the books any good,
writes.
though?
People seem to enjoy them.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking away that they might be perfectly fine books.
Yeah. The problem is, I think this is an issue at the heart of a lot of things, and even the industry we're currently in whilst doing this.
Yeah.
Having a name gives you that leg up on other people. I think it's just a...
But they're capitalising on their name.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily... Like, I don't think that people necessarily... They don't necessarily want to write a book. Let me try and phrase this rightly. But a publisher says to them, you're a name. Would you like to write a book for us? And
I
they
see
go,
what you mean.
yeah, okay, because I've seen a few interviews with people where that's happened.
Yeah.
Like, they've been approached, their agent said to them, have you thought about writing
Is
a
that
book?
being caused by people aren't buying enough unknown authors? Or,
I just
do you
think
know what
people.
I mean?
I just think people have sensed there's a market there for that, and so straight
Yeah.
away they're like, people with a name can sell a book, and the agents or whatever have gone, well, I know someone with a name.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case for some of these celebrities. But I think I listened to an interview with Richard Osman, and he always wanted to go into writing. So that was, but his way into it was through becoming a name. He wouldn't have been able to get the book deal to do the Thursday Murder Club and then the follow-ups if it wasn't for the fact he's Richard Osman. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
So I think for some people that's their way.
Like I said, if
into
you've
it.
got a book in you, I don't begrudge you writing a book, but I do feel like it's not the case for all of them, and I do feel like the market's become a bit crowded with celebrities, and that it's harder and harder for genuine up and coming
which
authors
isn't good
to
for
break
up and
into the.
up and coming.
There's
authors.
more competition.
Yeah, I mean, all I would suggest, their only way through that is to use the internet to their advantage, to do writing online that builds an audience and gets them interested in their
It's
books.
a hard thing to do, isn't it?
It is, but I think that's a way a lot of people have to go into
They're always
everything.
they're always going to have to build their own presence. They're always going to have to work to sell their own books. But there's even more competition now from people who just have a name. And you and I both know the market will suggest that if you're looking at 2 books, even if you're reading The Blow and you think, I kind of prefer that book, but you're like, but I know that person.
Yeah.
I'm going to, I know Dawn French, and I like Dawn French, so I'm going to get the Dawn French book.
It's a weird one for me because I'm
just curious how you feel on it.
I don't really know how I feel on it because I've got like a weird relationship with reading. I rarely read, if I'm being honest. I used to read a bit more than I do now. But like I'll get into reading a series of books. Like I saw the I Am Number 4 film, and found out it was done from books. So I then read the first book, and I've now got the whole set, which I'm slowly making my way through. And then I've one of my favourite other books I read was a random one I found in a bookstore once from someone I'd never heard of, and it's one of the best books I've ever read. Sorry.
I must admit that that's the advantage of. Obviously, I currently work in a charity shop.
Yeah.
It's the advantage of charity shops. So our books are 50p for the paperbacks and a pound for the hardbacks.
Yeah. So you can take a risk.
I have taken
books.
a chance on a couple of books because you think, well, do you know what? If I don't like it, it's 50p. Do you know what I mean? It's a pound.
And I think that's the other problem to books in general.
And then you do discover authors and you think,
expensive.
oh, actually, do you know what? I'll have a bit of that.
Yeah, and books are expensive, and also they take up a lot of room.
Yeah, but I tend to get rid of them once I've read them. I think, am I going to read it again?
I think you're in a minority there. I think there are maybe not a minority, but definitely I don't think you're the majority, if that makes sense.
No, but I do think there's a lot of people that do operate like that.
Oh no, definitely there is, because there's companies that trade exclusively on reselling books. So I know it's definitely a thing. I mean, look, it's not fair on up and coming authors, but I feel like that's the same situation in almost every other industry of entertainment. Do you know what I mean? Like, and even for us, we're trying to build a following from nothing, like an author would, to try and get more people interested.
Well,
no, we are, because like, look, the reality is all the successful podcasts are out there have been started by people that had a profile when they started. Even Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, it was tiny at the start, and he wasn't as big as he is now, obviously. But he had a presence. He was a professional fighter. He was a comedian. He'd been on television and then started podcasting. So he had a group of people that liked it. Do you know what I mean?
And he had connections to be able to get celebrities on, even lower.
Well, he just invited his friends in, and then that built from there.
But his friends were people wanted to see.
Again, famous people like other comedians and things like that. And like even like one of the other ones, Rob Beckett and Josh Whittaker, you've got two famous people as the host. Podcast. Yeah. And from what I've heard, it's a very good podcast. So like, and again, I don't even begrudge them doing that. It's just, it makes it unfair on us that it's difficult for us to get out there.
That's an interesting perspective on it. Me asking about the books thing, let's change it from the books thing. Let's talk about the podcasting, because that's something that you are involved in. You are the up and coming author. You're the up and coming podcast. You know.
To be honest, I wish podcast platforms like Spotify, for example, I wish they did more
to promote
smaller podcasts. Absolutely. So I think they should do it for authors as well. But like in podcasting, I don't feel like there is anything being done by any of the, like Apple podcast platform is absolutely shocking. It's horrendous to use. It's very difficult to navigate. Spotify is a bit better, but like I don't think they do enough to. Like I think they should be scouting lower podcasts for one to go, oh, this one might have something. Let's throw a little bit of money behind them instead of just throwing money at people to get them exclusively on their platform. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's all well and good spending 100 million getting Joe Rogan in, and that makes huge business sense because the amount of people it brings to their platform. But there's others where I'm like, you didn't need to bring them on here. Do you know what I mean? And they could have spent that money perhaps investing in smaller podcasts.
Or just putting it in advertisement for a smaller podcast, putting it sponsoring a smaller podcast. Yeah.
I think they could do things like that. So it's not a fair system, but like I think podcasting is different from like the book industry.
Well, I was going to say, I think it is very similar. Where I think at first people didn't really, celebrities, didn't really fully understand it, so they weren't all jumping the ship.
I think a couple of big people did it, and then now it's a legitimate career.
They saw a couple of people have a success of it, and I think that's the similar with the book thing. I think it's always been a thing where celebrities have written books. That has always been a thing, but it feels like it was
normally autobiographies, and you might get one or two.
I feel like in the last maybe 10, 20 years, it just kicked on another level. Someone obviously saw someone have success and thought, right, that's it. And now it's like,
and we're at the time of the year for it now, aren't we? Because it all ramps up towards Christmas.
This is the route for most celebrities. Is you get a, and I feel like it's often a choice between them. Some people do both, but it's often a choice. You write a book or you do a podcast.
I think the problem for authors, and it's why I say I think they should look to the internet for a solution. I don't know what that solution is. Whether it's putting out a chapter of your book on the internet to your following and hope they share it, and then that gets you a bit more interest when you're releasing the book. Things like that, little things that might help. But I don't know how you could change it. I don't know what that solution would be. But I feel like there's a more overriding system. Like there's not governing bodies in place, but there's big companies. There's not really big companies involved in podcasts, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I don't
think
know if there's many big like podcast production
I think
companies
similar
that are
to the
scouting and things like
similar
that.
to the podcast thing, I would say put in more effort. Because look, with your great respect, Richard Osman, not to pick on Richard Osman, I'm just using him as the example.
That's
Like,
fair.
I don't
I
want to feel
don't
like
think
I'm
you have
picking
an
on
issue
Richard
with
Osman,
Richard
but
Osman.
with the Richard Osman thing,
But he's a good example.
Richard Osman doesn't need a lot of advertising help to sell his books because
No.
he knows a lot of people in film and TV, so he can get himself on the One Show and on whatever else to promote his book, on BBC Radio to promote his book.
Yeah.
And he's got a substantial Twitter following.
Yeah.
So he tweets, "I've got a book coming out," and straight away that's like, I mean, I don't know how many people follow him, but let's say 2 million people.
Yeah.
That's an audience of 2 million people that you or I don't have.
No.
Whereas the younger, not necessarily the younger, but the newer authors, the ones working away who don't have a name for themselves, that don't have that platform, they could do with a bit of help. They could do with them saying, right, let's get them on TV, let's get them on, on radio, let's do book events where they go and read a chapter. And, talk
I'm
to
sure they
people.
probably do some of that stuff, but probably not enough.
A bit more, because it's like I said, the celebrities don't need help selling their books.
No, not really. No.
That's the reason they've been able to sell as many books
But as you
they
say,
have.
it's just they've spotted an area that makes some money and they're doubling down on it. And that is unfair on people lower down. It's just sadly the reality of, like I said, most industries, isn't it? But you could always do with every industry being a bit more of a meritocracy.
Helping the grassroots.
I mean?
Yeah. Same in sport.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Help the grassroots.
I get that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Right. What's the worst service you've ever seen / experienced? Like, it could be at a restaurant and a waitress was really shit. It could be, you're going to get your car serviced and they were really, but do you know what I mean? Like,
a bit hard for me, that one, because I always kind of tend to think,
you try to be sympathetic.
A nice guy. Yeah, I always think, look, you don't know what's happened. Like, they could just be having a really shitty day. They could just be having a really off day, or maybe you're catching them at the end of a shift, or sometimes at the start of a shift. They've got shit stuff going on at home. They come in, they haven't had a chance to kind of adjust to the working world. Yeah, and they carry in all that shit. So I kind of tend to give people a lot of benefit of the doubt with that kind of stuff.
No, but you will have had bad experiences, that being said. You can understand why you had the bad experience, but you still had a bad experience, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head. Can you?
One of the worst ones I had was around Christmas a few years ago. It was more than a few years ago now. And I wanted to buy a gift voucher for my dad for Christmas. And I was buying 2. And the guy only gave me back 2 receipts. And I know from working in retail, you get a receipt for each gift card and then one for the transaction. But I only had 2 receipts. So one of them was one of the vouchers and one of them didn't have one. So I literally only stepped away about 2 meters and then went back to the guy and was like, "Oh, I'm missing a receipt. You can't have activated both cards." And then he looked at the 2 receipts I had and was like, "No, I've done it fine. You've been charged for both." And I said, "Yeah, you've charged for both. You haven't activated both." And he was like, "Yes, I have." And I was like, "Look, man."
But how did you say that, though? Did you say that like you haven't activated, or did you say, I don't think you've activated?
I actually said to him, with all due respect, mate, I use that machine myself. I work in retail, I work for the co-op, I'm a manager. And I explained to him exactly the same as I did to you, that I should have 3 receipts, 1 for each gift card and 1 for the transaction. And I said, and you can charge someone for one of these without activating the card.
Oh, really easily?
Yeah. So because there's 2 barcodes and both go through the till, but only one activates them. So, and I said, I was being really calm, really polite. And he was just like, "No, I know I've done it." And I said, "Well, can I speak to someone else then? Because I don't want to leave without having not." And he just refused point blank to call anyone. I then tried going to the kiosk to ask to speak to a manager. They said they were all busy. I tried explaining it to the woman. She was like, "There's nothing I can do to help you."
That grinds my gears a lot when people pass the buck.
And the thing is, she's right. She can't do anything to help me.
But she can find someone that can.
Yeah. And to just say the managers are busy, and then it's like, all right, so customers don't get... And then so I was like, all right, so what do I do then? And she didn't shrug her shoulders. She just said, "I'm really sorry, I don't know what to suggest." And it's like... So I was like, all right, so what? I was like, should I phone up and see if I can speak to someone? And she said, yeah, that might work. So I then phoned the store back with the number from the receipt, and they were like, well, since you've left, and I said, well, no, you'll be able to tell if I bring both gift cards back, if you try and activate them both, one of them won't and one of them will. And they were like, no, we you could have done something, brought another card. And I was like, well, surely like, if you check the cameras, you'll see that I'm talking to the guy I go and talk to. And they were like, no, sorry. So in the end, I lost 20 quid because they wouldn't do anything. And I even wrote an email to the head office and they were like, we'll look into this. And I never heard back from them.
Of course you wouldn't.
So yeah, I nearly flipped at them when that was all going on.
There's definitely been experiences where I have felt like I want to scream at the people, but then I can't remember. I can't think of them off the top of my head.
No, that's fair enough.
But there have been instances where you think that, and it's again, I give a lot of the benefit of the doubt, but then you think, sort of like you're saying there, you're like, when they try and tangle you up in this logic where they go, well, since you've left the store, and you're like, but I had to leave the store to talk to you because no one was fucking speaking to me. I tried to do it.
It sounds like you've just got an answer for everything, and you're trying. You feel like you're being.
So I have had it a couple of times where you do like a, you phone one department, and they go, we can't help you. You've got to go to this other department.
Yeah.
So you go for this other department, and they go, actually, because you went through them.
Yeah.
Your issue is with them, and we can't do anything. It's like right, but I had to,
Yeah.
Or they'll send you back, and then they'll be like, oh, but because you did it this way, and you're like, but I had to do it that way because you wouldn't let me do it the other way.
No.
And they kind of, companies do try and box you into those corners so that they don't have to help you.
Yeah, no, it's
and
frustrating.
That bores my piss a lot.
But the thing is,
bores my blood.
What annoyed me about it the most in the moment was I knew the guy just didn't want to be in the wrong. He didn't want to admit he made a mistake. And the thing is, it's not a massive mistake. Just scan it back through again. Big a deal. Just scan it back through again. I'm not like, I haven't come up to you with another voucher. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've literally just stepped away, checked the receipts and stepped back again. That's it. It's one of them things.
Yeah, I guess it is.
What's your next one?
Yes, it is. What have I got? I don't think I've got too many things I wanted to speak to you about. I wanted to just ask you whether you buy into this conspiracy.
What one?
I don't know whether I've spoken to you about it before, so I apologise if we have spoken about it before on the podcast. I apologise if I brought it up. I do sort of buy it a little bit myself.
This will be interesting then.
The whole, green lifestyle, the whole do your bit, recycling, wash out your jars, and all that stuff was a push from big corporations with huge carbon footprints, so that we're all looking at ourselves
rather than them,
and we're all focusing on what we're doing rather than what they're doing, when actually what we're doing, cleaning out your jam jars and all that stuff, contributes to like 0.1% of the problem, whereas what they're doing contributes to 99.9% of the problem. And when I read this, when I heard about it, I did kind of think, I don't know whether I do believe it, but I definitely thought I would believe it. Do you know what I mean?
The way I do agree with it, and the reason I agree with it is back in the war, back in the days of like World War II and particularly World War II, the government did a huge campaign for people to donate scrap metal.
Yeah. Do
your part to save the country and help us build planes. They didn't use any of it. Didn't need it. They wanted people to feel like they were doing their part. So, yeah, I can absolutely believe that whether it was big corporations or the government, it was either to make us feel like we're all doing our bit to save the planet, whilst it's actually not really benefiting anything.
I feel more cynically like it's them going.
I don't know, and I think this is the problem with conspiracy theories in general. They imply that there's like a group of people all in like lockstep making decisions for the masses. I think it's more likely very small, like maybe even just a couple of people at a time that make decisions based off of what other people are doing. And other companies are like, oh yeah, we should be doing that as well.
I think one or two companies had the same idea at the same time, or roughly the same time. Yeah. And I think it built momentum, and the others spotted it and went, yeah, that's a good idea.
Because none of them did it. It wasn't like a movement that happened all at once.
And then it gained momentum, and then it did become a thing that we all do. But I like I said, I don't know whether I do believe it, but I would believe it.
There's things like, I've noticed in everything the government tries to offer us in terms of support for things like the cost of living, like with the gas, there's a payment they're offering to millions of people, but you have to have a smart meter. And there's been loads of other things they've done. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they've been like caveated with, oh, to have this benefit or to have this, you have to have a smart meter. And it's stuff coming from the government, from the companies, and everything you hear from people like Martin Lewis say, do not get a smart meter. They are designed to overcharge you. And that feels like a concerted effort. And I don't think it's all of them getting together and going, oh, look, let's push
But
smart meters.
one of them realised what it could do.
And I think the rest of them jump on it. They're like, yeah, have a smart meter. So I definitely think these things happen. I don't think they're always necessarily as nefarious as in terms of.
But just that idea of let's look at what you're doing to save the planet. And it's like, no, bro, let's look at what you're doing.
The thing is, and it's these things become even more difficult in times like ours, where things are so extreme and ridiculous. But it's not a giant leap to believe that they would do that, because it's been done before, and they'll do it again. So no, I probably think that's exactly what it was done for, whether it was a conscious decision in the beginning. But yeah, definitely it would have been a one going forward, if that makes sense.
I think so.
Yeah. No,
Cool.
because like I said, yes, it's not a giant leap.
It's not at all.
No.
It's not at all.
Right. We're actually doing all right for time. What is your favourite musical memory?
Musical memory? Haven't got a clue.
What I mean by
Couldn't put it
musical
down.
memory, I don't mean you were at a musical. I mean your favourite memory involving music. It could be a special moment with a parent, like a nostalgic moment. It could be a moment at a concert that you remember thinking, fuck, this is amazing.
For me, music is such a big part of my life
Mm.
that it runs intrinsically through every part of it.
Mm.
So I couldn't pin down one.
Give me some
Bit
standout
tied to
moments.
music.
It doesn't have to
I don't
be
think
one
there are any
moment.
standout moments. I think
There's no concerts you've been to where you were like, oh, this moment was special, or
there's just loads
Or
of
this
moments like
moment
that.
was
There's loads of
amazing.
you know.
well, just give me a couple.
Naming
Naming me one doesn't mean all others are not valuable.
I think the first. Okay, so the first. I think I might have said it before. The first single I ever owned was by a band. They were a bit like Hanson-esque.
Okay.
They were called Next of Kin.
Okay.
Now I've never heard of them since, and I'd never heard of them. I was like, I
Okay.
mean, I don't know, 5 or something, 6. Who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe a bit older. And they did a song called 24 Hours from You.
Oh my god!
Do you know
I
it?
bought the exact
I bought
same
the, I bought the
CD.
single.
I fucking loved. As you started talking about it, in my head, I
You
started
started
it
to think about
24 hours with you.
Oh,
we got a one-way ticket and it's coming on. Yeah, I know that song.
yeah. That
Fuck, I didn't know that's who they were called though.
that song kind of made me at a young age think, oh, that's what I want to do.
What, be a musician?
Yeah, like play guitar and
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
That was, so I guess that's a
Yeah.
seminal music moment.
Nice.
What about yourself?
There's been a few. One was obviously going to see the Foo Fighters, being a huge fan. They were one group they
Good
were
show
on my
that.
bucket list of going to see them. And for me, it didn't matter that we were like at the back of the stadium and like couldn't actually.
The energy
technically-
was there.
Yeah, it was just amazing. And to be there with you and Ash, that was amazing.
Get photobombed by that woman.
Oh, do you know what?
I love that photo.
I borderline hate it. I go back and forth on it.
I love it.
Sometimes I look at it and I was like, oh, that was an amazing night. And other times I look at that woman's smug, smiley face and I want to slap it. Do you know
I
what
love
I mean?
it. I want to meet her.
She is in my photos for like one of the most lovely moments of my life going to see them. And she's there and I don't know who she is and it pisses me off.
That's a good night, though. It was a good night.
Yeah.
Good gig.
Another one was it was one of the first, I think it might even be the first like concert I'd ever gone
Was
to
it
see.
Shinedown?
Yeah, it was Shinedown at Norwich University with Ash and Lindsay. And we were like right up the front and he like does monologues between songs, the lead singer. And we could tell what song he was going to do next, a song about friendship and, whatever. And I just put my arms around Ash and Lindsay and we all started like sort of hugging and listening to him. And he just looked at us and pointed at us and was like, sort of like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And we were like, ah. Do you know what I mean? It was just a nice moment.
Yeah, I remember when I got, sort of like interaction with the act. I remember going to see the Rizzle Kicks in Kingston.
Yeah.
And they were like, all right, if you were going shopping, what would you get us? And everyone was just shouting out all kinds of shit. And to be fair, I also shouted out some random shit.
Someone was
And
saying
in
like
my def-
condoms.
in my defence, like alcohol had been consumed at
and
that
to
point.
can I be honest, I'd never heard of them before, so I didn't know what was happening. Do you know what I mean?
One was slightly inebriated at that point.
Yeah.
But we battled to the front. Why the fuck we battled to the front? I don't like it now, at the age
Yeah.
I'm at now in life. there's not an act on the planet that you would go, do you want a butterfly? It's like, no. Like, no offense, bro, but if you suddenly took off, if you said, I'm going to do music,
Yeah.
and you then played a gig like that, and there was like a crowd barrier thing,
Yeah.
and it'd be like, do you know what, bro, I love you.
You'd be
I'll watch from the
backstage.
back. I'll watch from
Yeah.
the back. That's fine.
I'd rather be backstage if
I'm
I
not.
was.
But, you know, even if I'm going to go around and watch from the front, I'm
Yeah.
not there. Okay, that was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy I was with, like, a couple were, they weren't having sex, but they were very close to it on his back.
Because we had was Kieran there as well, wasn't
think it was
he?
Kieran's
and
back.
they were leaning on him.
It was
Yeah.
Kieran's back, and like
Yeah.
they were full on going for it, and he was
Yeah,
just
because
like,
I remember being stood.
yeah, 'cause
like,
it was only
up
me.
some
I think it was only
steps
me and Kieran
with
that went down
Ash.
to the
Was
front.
Ash there?
Yeah, I think it was only me and Kieran
Yeah.
that went to the front.
No, that was brilliant, and I actually fell in love with it. I went home.
But when he
like,
said, and I
downloaded several
finally
of their
got it, and I was
songs.
like, trumpet, and then they played
Yeah,
down with
and
the
everyone
trumpets,
went
which is a fucking
nuts,
tune,
didn't
by the
they?
way.
Yeah, it is a tune. I like Rizzle Kicks, but yeah,
yeah,
never
audience
heard them
interaction.
beforehand. But yeah, no, that was brilliant. I'm trying to think. There was another moment, and it wasn't at a concert. It was, do you know, back in the days of LimeWire,
Yeah, yeah.
and you could just type in like Foo Fighters, and this was when I first discovered them. And you'd get like live songs that people had recorded of them, and one
Yeah.
of them was, and I'd never heard the song before, "Stairway to Heaven."
Okay.
And it's Dave just like messing around on stage doing like a version of it, and it sounded amazing. Never heard the song before. And
You
like
know it now, though, right?
yeah, of course.
Oh,
I do. And the
for
thing
God's
was, I
sake.
remember going to my dad, and I was like, I've just heard a song that's really amazing. I think you might like it.
I
and
love
he
that.
was like,
That's
I was
brilliant.
like, it's by a band I like called Foo Fighters.
Do you know what? There's no more humbling moment
Yeah.
than when you present something and someone goes, "That's not them."
no.
You know, that's
And he was like, oh yeah, what's the song called? And I was like, oh, it's called Stairway to Heaven. And he just burst out laughing immediately. And he was like, that's not a Foo Fighters song. And I was like, no, it is. I've heard them sing it. And he was like, no, it's. And this is when I found out what a cover was.
brilliant. I mean, that
Um,
was an educational day for you. You learnt a lot.
Yeah. And my dad was like, it's done by Led Zeppelin. Go away, listen to
the
Led
Led
Zeppelin's
Zeppelin
version, and then come back and we'll talk about it. And I was like, why is he being such a dick? Like,
It's a good song. Though.
and
It's a
then I
really good
listened
song.
to it and I was like, holy fuck, fair enough. And I went back and we talked about it. But that was a nice moment of my, like, it was just look in my dad's face when he was like,
Don't be a
fucking Foo
dick.
Fighters. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Have
Yeah.
you ever seen an act that wasn't great and made you think, oh, I could do that?
Yeah, Foo Fighters. To be honest with you, not in terms of like they don't put on a good show, because they do. And Dave Grohl has really good stage presence, and he's a good performer, and he can perform to a big crowd. But in terms of his actual singing voice, isn't actually that amazing.
Well, you
live.
said, I think you said the last episode about you were called out on your.
Yeah, Ash brutally called me out on my singing voice, bless him. And
But made you
I
think-
still don't think I
No,
have
but
that
made you
bad a
think,
singing
it made
voice.
you think I could do it.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because Dave Graham was a show, but yeah, singing voice isn't that great. And I said, and I was in the car with Ash, and I'm like, I think I could. I always thought I could be a lead singer of a band. Like, I feel like I could pull off the stage presence.
And he said, yeah, you could.
he's like, yeah, you could, but you just wouldn't have no singing talent to back it up, and just a brutal takedown. But yeah,
I think you sing fine. I always seem to remember, I always have this memory of like, relatively young, I guess. I always have this memory of us harmonising quite well.
we do harmonise quite well.
Which suggests that there's at least some.
We
musical ability.
discovered it particularly with "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me."
Such a good moment though at that pub.
Yeah, when we were listening to that, those two guys
Karaoke.
just all rise.
Well, he just came in high,
yeah,
and it was like, bro, this song
You've got
gets
nowhere
high.
to
Like
go.
you have got to go somewhere.
yeah. You got to take it gentle at first. You got to ease into it.
We spent the whole like 3.5, 4 minutes just waiting.
And I remember we went on a stag do, and I think me and you started singing it together. We like did it together.
Again, I think to be fair,
Um,
drinks had been consumed at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah. But afterwards, our good friend Morris, shout out, he actually said to me like, "Mate, you smashed that," and I was like, "I know I did."
know.
I know.
I know it, baby.
I know when I've smashed.
You're
a song.
welcome.
Yeah, and then the worst part was, it was immediately followed by this girl who gave like a fucking haunting rendition of Zombies that I'd again never heard. I'd never heard that song before. And
I like that song.
her vocal range was phenomenal. That girl, I don't know who the fuck she was, but yeah,
No, she was
proper
really good.
upstaged.
I know that. It's always one of them. You don't want to be sandwiched between good singers at karaoke.
No.
Do you know what I mean? You want to follow
Yeah.
someone's shit
I think
and be followed by
I
someone's
can't
shit.
remember who he followed. It was someone from our group, and they were a bit drunk. It was a bit meh, as karaoke can be. And I'm like on the sideline going,
I'm
You
ready.
know,
I'm
doing
ready.
this. Like, no, not quite like that, but you know what I mean. I was ready for it. And then I think our mate Alan did tribute, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
And I remember I was like, "Fuck this, I'm getting involved." And I think like 7 of us were just stood there
Yeah, we
screaming
went up.
tribute. That was a good night. But yeah, no, I thought it was a good question because I knew music is important to you.
Are we
So I was
allowed to do that?
hoping,
Are we allowed to like congratulate our own questions,
I mean, I've done
praise
it
our own
before.
questions?
I've done it before.
So if anyone could, it is us.
Yeah,
It's
especially
you.
you.
Well,
If you do it, if it was in reverse.
that's because I have good questions.
And also, like, there's other moments, like me and you, we went to see Noel Gallagher and the High Flying Birds. That was in a beautiful, phenomenally
Really
beautiful
nice.
setting.
Like, that's the kind of.
We've
that's
had
the
so
kind of
many
setting I could-
romantic dates together,
But
haven't
like
we?
that's the kind of setting that at the point I'm at in now in life
Yeah,
would
yeah,
work
yeah.
well for me. It was
Yeah.
like seats. First
Yeah.
of all, we never sat.
No.
Like once the show got started, we didn't sit.
No.
But seats, beautiful old naval college.
Yeah.
You know,
On
on the
the river.
riverbank. Yeah, sun
Beautiful
going
old
down
ship
behind
sailing past.
the stage,
Yeah.
and oh yeah, it was
Yeah,
that's kind
phenomenal.
of
And then you throw in Wonderwall, and you're just, you know, it's almost like a tear-jerking moment to a degree.
I know I loved as
But
well.
we had a
yeah.
habit for a while. We'd kept going on like mandates, and we'd end up in a really romantic and beautiful location.
Yeah, we
just
did a
sat on
couple,
bench
by the
together.
Thames.
Yeah,
We did a couple
Thames
up
is
by the
lovely,
Thames,
man.
up in sort of central London.
But yeah, no, I think music is important to most people, I would imagine, and I just think there's always good stories.
Yeah,
that
and
go
it's always
along
nice
with
when
them.
you don't expect it and it comes out. So when I went to see on his latest tour, Ed Sheeran, bought
Yeah.
myself a last minute ticket because I thought, fuck it, why not?
Mm.
And he got to that point when he was talking about the collaborations album and through the whole tour in the UK, or through all the nights at Wembley, sorry, he'd brought out a different person to do it.
Okay.
And I've kind of had an inkling who it might be,
Mm.
but it was more hope than
Yeah.
thinking. But I was like, I think it could be. But I was like, I really hope it is.
And who was it?
Well, this is the thing. And he's like, okay, so I did these albums, and now I've got a band. He's like, 'cause with the band, you can actually play these songs.
Mm.
And then Stormzy came out because they
Ah,
started the
shit.
first few bars to Take Me Back to London. Now I really like the song Take Me Back to London.
Yeah, Leanne
Dum,
likes
dum,
that.
dum, 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 dum. And when that started coming in, I was like, oh fucking shit. And I was like, it's happening. It's
That's
happening.
nice.
And I was like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
That was a good moment.
yeah. Good.
Because you didn't expect it, and it was kind of like,
No, it's brilliant when that
It's good.
happens.
and what it was, yeah, I think it was. Were you expecting Wheatus when we went to see Wheatus?
That was incredible. And that was such a, like anyone else looking at our group, it was a very bizarre situation, wasn't it? We went
Yeah.
to see Busted.
Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Was it? It wasn't. It was Wembley,
Wembley,
Arena.
I think. Yeah, Wembley Arena.
And there was what, 5 or 6 of us grown men at a Busted
Yeah.
concert. But yeah, and we had one warm up act. It was a girl that had been on Britain's Got Talent. I don't remember her name. And then it wasn't on the ticket, was it? They weren't.
No, I knew
touted
because
as-
I'd already seen it.
I really
online,
Yeah,
yeah.
I had no idea. So when Wheatus came on stage, and like we grew up with, we were at that perfect age when we were teenagers. When
For their
Teenage
cover of
Dirtbag
Little
came out.
Respect and Teenage
Yeah,
Teenage
and they
Dirtbag.
sang both of them. And I remember that was an amazing moment. I also felt a little bit sorry for them because in the when they started, they were like, "This is our first ever arena tour," and you're like, "Mate, you've been around for a long time." But I thought it was not. It was just a brilliant moment. Plus, we like Busted, so
Yeah, but yeah, Teenage Dirtbag. That was like an unexpected joy for you.
yeah, absolutely.
No, I think it's fun. Like I said, music is
Yeah.
so intrinsically linked through my life
Yeah,
that it's hard for me to pick.
No, I would agree
moments.
as well. I would agree. Yeah. Have you got anything else?
No, I've got nothing else.
You've got nothing else.
I've got nothing else. This was a spillover episode. This was just the stuff we didn't cover in the last one.
We'll do one more, I reckon. Favourite holiday memory or memory abroad? Doesn't again.
Oh my god!
Before you get dickish on me, just pick a few nice moments from
Like,
like
okay,
memorable
no, I
moments
have
from
one.
holiday. Yeah. Because you know Jake's had
What's
this habit in
yours?
this episode, a bit like Tyson Fury did in his interview with True Geordie, where it was just like, I don't want to be here, I don't want to talk to you, and I'm going to answer. A bit like Michael Elise last night
love
after
that.
scoring.
By the
I
way,
don't have an
He
issue.
answered the questions.
To be honest with you, instantly it pisses me off that people are criticising him because no one said fuck all when Erling Haaland was doing it at Dortmund. So shut your mouth.
Also, when you see the reactions of likes of Zaha and Ebre Eze,
Yeah,
and they're like, they find it so funny that he does his interviews like that.
yeah,
And I think part of the reason he does it is because
It's
he
for
knows
that,
his
the
squad are
lulz.
going to enjoy it. Yeah.
yeah.
But it's so funny when like, what did it feel like to score a goal? He's like,
Really
yeah,
good.
good.
Yeah.
That took me through a goal. He's like, yeah, he passed it to me, I scored.
Yeah,
I don't know what more you want.
yeah.
I don't know what you want out of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, sorry. What are your
What were we talking about?
holiday memories?
You didn't give me yours. I asked
Do you
a
wanna-
question.
oh, mate. Okay, so when we were in America, in LA,
Yeah.
and we did our beach day,
Okay.
and we plonked ourselves down on the sand, and there was like a little bank, like a drop between where we were and
Yeah.
the sea.
Okay.
You know, it was a good few feet after the drop, going out to the ocean. The Pacific Ocean. I've been there. I don't want to brag. It's kind of no big deal.
Beautiful.
Been out. We drowned you in the Pacific Ocean.
I know. I was there.
They cut out. You were there, and then you weren't.
I was there
That
in
was
spirit.
that was the last day you were there,
Yeah.
because we binned you after that.
Yeah.
Because we don't leave you in the ocean. That's just,
No, I think
Not
you could
very
have folded
respectful.
me up and brought me home. Do you know what I mean?
mate. It would have been cheap to get a ticket on the plane. Honestly, it's ridiculous.
That's his exact words as well. Because Lindsay asked him while we were away, was like, why didn't you bring the cutout back? And he was like, because I weren't paying that sort of money to
Mate,
bring a
no
cutout
way.
back.
I love you.
Just
Like,
be cheaper to get a
we
new one.
genuinely, when we got it, we were like, can't get rid of it, can't say no to this, we can't kill it, I love it too much. We
Yeah.
both kept saying it through the whole shit. We were like, it's the
Yeah.
best thing we've ever
But then
bought.
you're not paying 300 odd
As soon
quid
as that
for-
quote came back, it was like, do you know what? I can let him go.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. He can die.
Instantly, I'm fine.
We both had that click moment. We were like, well, guess he's dying.
Yep.
It was a very big swing. Yeah. So we
No,
were
I
on
can understand that.
we were on this beach, and you know, it was quite funny as well because we'd already had a few laughs. Me and Ash sort of stood on the edge looking out, and the sand beneath him gave way, and he fell down this bank. And as I'm standing there pissing myself laughing, the sand beneath me gave way,
Oh,
and
and
I
then
fell
you go
down.
as well.
So it was very funny. And at one point, so Alex was just laying up on the top. Alex, who we need to get back on to do a proper, fair talk with.
Mm.
Alex is laying on the top, and he's just like, no, it makes me laugh even still. I love that so much. It's so cruel. And I thought I'd gone for a little swim, and I thought, you know what? I wonder if I could get up that bank in one, because it was quite steep. I thought, what if I could get up without using my hands?
Okay.
I wonder if I could just like run it. So I did a couple of steps, and I sort of did it. And as I looked up just in time to see the last of the sand land on Alex, where I'd kicked up an enormous amount of sand. And it all landed on him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was horrendous. I mean, it was everywhere. And I laughed so hard.
Yeah.
And he was so angry.
I
He
can
was
imagine.
he's just sort of woken up from a nice little nap in the sun.
Yeah.
And a rain
Covered.
of sand.
Someone's trying to bury him.
And I mean, I cannot express to you how much sand I managed to kick up. And how unfortunate that it all went at him. Like, the direction was all him. And it was just, I just looked up enough just to catch it landing.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I did like 2 footfalls.
Mm.
So there was like 2 scoops of sand coming his way, and I just saw the second scoop. And I just found it so funny. And even now, as cruel as it sounds,
You still find it hilarious.
that picture in
Well,
my
it
head,
is hilarious.
it still makes me laugh.
Yeah. And I know how angry Alex. He gets so angry, he ends up going silent for quite a bit. Yeah. Jake's just being unprofessional with a mouthful of water, folks.
Because my throat was hurting from the laughter. Because it makes me laugh so much.
I think that says a lot about
And then
you.
we went on holiday. We went on holiday recently, and we were on a beach, and he got some sand on me, and I was like, bro, and he was like, oh, how's it fucking feel? He's like, you don't get to say shit.
Yeah, you
He's
can
like,
shut
you
your
don't get
mouth.
to say shit about sand being put on someone else.
No.
Like
You're
that.
not the victim here,
I'm
John.
like, no, fair enough. You owe me a lot of sand.
Yeah.
If we're doing it on a 1-for-1 basis.
Any other
you owe me a
funny
lot of
holiday
sand.
moments? Or memorable moments?
Yeah, there was a moment when I was on holiday in Turkey with
Yeah.
my family. We did Jeep Safari. Loved a Jeep Safari. It was
Oh,
great
nice.
fun.
What did you see?
All sorts of. We did like waterfall.
Any
you know,
animals?
type of things. Well, no, but this is the thing. Okay, no, and we did a
Because
monastery.
I
as
don't
well.
know what you'd see in Turkey in terms of
It was
animals,
so,
to be fair.
It was so good. So we got in, and there were all these like water bottles and stuff, like with no lids on and stuff. And we were like, "It's fucking ridiculous! Like, it's taking up all the room. Get them out." And the guy just couldn't understand why we did that. Realise why, isn't it? Because as you're driving around, there's like 3 or 4 Jeeps, and you all have water fights with each other as you're driving along the road.
Oh, okay.
So we just got rid of all our weapons.
Yeah.
So that was genius.
Poor.
But no, the tour guide did this thing when we were at this sort of like waterfall, really shallow water, and he went, if you look really closely, you can see the blue fish, and everyone let in, and then he went, bosh, 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 splash everyone, and it was hilarious. And after he'd done it, I went, can you all stop splashing so I can see the fucking fish, please?
There's no
There's
fish.
no fish.
No.
I was just committed to it, and I was like, for quite a while, someone had to come and say to me, because I was just stood
There's
there
no
looking
actual
for a fish.
Jake.
Someone was like, it's a ruse, like
Yeah.
it's to get you all down.
Yeah.
So they
Get
can
you
smash
all
you all.
wet. Yeah.
And I was just convinced that all these people had scared off the fucking fish coming here splashing around the place.
Bless ya.
I was 16,
Yeah.
So old enough to know better, really.
Really, yeah, I would agree.
What about yourself? What's your holiday memories?
One of my all-time favourite ones was in Turkey as well, actually. I went on holiday with a mutual friend, also called Andrew. And we went to Turkey and we signed up for like a load of different activities, one of which was paragliding, even though my dad expressly told me when I was going away with his
No
family,
paragliding.
no like dangerous shit. And I thought paragliding was off the back of the boat.
Yep, fair enough.
And so I was like, well, that's not really dangerous. I'm like tethered to a boat. It's cool. And then like the night before, me and Andrew were sharing a room.
You're like, I'm a pretty badass guy, so I don't know if that's dangerous to someone like me. Like, I'm pretty cool.
Well, it just doesn't seem dangerous. You've got a parachute.
I'm pretty tough.
You're
That's
tethered
what.
to a boat. The guy's got
Well, same with the
brakes.
paragliding. You tethered in.
But yeah, and then Andrew saying, I said to him, I'm really looking forward to the paragliding tomorrow. And he was like, yeah, me too. The only problem is the ride up the mountain. And I was like, what do you mean?
Mountain. Kind of seas in the mountain.
And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, you know, you go in like this truck that barely has sides and you go up these really tight gravel roads up to the top of the mountain. And I was like, why are we going to the top of the mountain?
So you could jump off it.
And that's what he said. And I was like, but how are they going to get the tether from the top of the mountain to the boat? And he just looked at me and was like, is this actually happening? And I was just like, I sat there for a minute and went, oh, fuck, are we running off a mountain? And he was like, yeah, that's what paragliding is. And I was like, oh, fuck. But at this point, I'd
You
already
committed.
paid.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to pussy out. And he was right. You nearly shit yourself just getting up to the top of the mountain. And I've seen videos of the exact mountain now. It's so much different. It's been built up. They've got proper roads. It's all been made a bit more safe. I did it like 10 years previous when it still felt safe, but like there's nothing on top of this mountain except for you. Do you know what I mean?
I would love to do that. I've never done paragliding. I would love to do paragliding.
Honestly, one of the best things I've ever done. And Andrew had to go first. And as they started running, because what they do, they get the parachute unfurled and start to get it to catch the wind, and they wait for a strong wind, and then you run to the edge. And as you get to the edge, you lift off, so you don't actually go over the edge and like drop or anything. No. And Andrew was going first, and they get about halfway towards the edge, and they start screaming stop, and it's because the wind just went dead and the parachute dropped. So it meant they would have just fell off the edge. And then Andrew suddenly went from being really cocky and calm because he'd done it before to being like, oh, fuck, we're actually in trouble here. And then they still made him go first. And I remember him just like hearing his screams as he was going off. And then when I did it, I'd taken 2 pairs of shoes on the holiday with me. One was a pair of canvas shoes and one was flip-flops. So I was wearing canvas shoes they were quite loose as well. Like every time I walked, my heels would come out. And I've got to run off the edge of a cliff with shoes that are going to... And literally as we're running... halfway, one of my shoes starts to come off, and I managed to hook it with my foot as we're like gliding off, and then mid-air I'm trying to get my shoe back on because I didn't want to lose it, because then I land at the bottom with just one shoe.
Would have been good.
But you're in the air for a good, and we flew over somewhere called the Blue Lagoon, and it was a beautiful beach and a lovely resort. It was just phenomenal. You're in the air for a good 40 minutes just gliding down, and the guy handed me this camera to film it, and then he was like, you want to steer? And I was like,
oh, yeah.
No.
What?
No. Why? I don't know what I'm doing.
We're so different.
And then
you don't need to know. You steer. It's
I see down below us, because obviously Andrew's been gone a little bit. He's spiraling, like they're doing this spiral. And I was like, what the? He was like, oh, it's spiral. You want to do? And I was like, no, I fucking don't, mate.
Oh, God.
I just want to make. No. I just want to make my way down.
I definitely would steer. I'd definitely have a go.
No, and I was shitting myself just holding the camera. I didn't want to drop it. And it was like on a selfie stick. And then coming into land, he'd said to me when we first started floating, because you sort of have to hoist yourself into this sort of seat that's built into the parachute, and you're both sitting in it. Because I had to go, I'm strapped to someone basically. And as we're coming, he said to me, as we're coming into land, I'll tell you, you start running in the air. He's like, just start running.
Yeah, because that's how you land.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, that's cool. So in my head, I'm waiting for him to tell me when to start running. So we're getting lower and lower, and he was like, yeah, we'll be coming into land in a second. And I'm like, all right, well, he hasn't. He said, but he didn't say start running. So we're getting lower and lower, and in my head, I'm like, at what point? and he never said anything, so I landed arse first at the end. And I kept saying, and you hear it in the video, me going, "Oh, I'm sorry." And afterwards, I said to Andrew, I was like, "You're supposed to tell me to fucking run." And he was like, "Yeah, but at what point is it on you
To
as
start
you're
running.
coming in to realise, like, when you're
When you're at least 10 feet off the ground.
yeah,
or something,
maybe I
it's
should
like,
start running." But yeah, that was brilliant.
Any others?
There's been like some really funny moments. Like, I can't remember where we were. I was quite young, and it was a family holiday, and we were like on this mountain, and it turned out we were going the wrong way. So we had to turn around, and like there was no point. We'd have to basically go all the way around the mountain to then turn around and come all the way back around the mountain again. So my dad was like, "Well, we're going to have to turn around." And I think it was like quite dark as well. So in the middle of the night on the mountain road, my dad had to reverse. And literally we were, I think, right on the edge, about to go over. That was quite scary. And I remember
Sounds like you had it under control.
yeah. Other moments was like when we were in Tenerife. There was the moment with one of our friends after he got laid the next morning.
Yeah, I love you.
The I love you.
Yeah, I love it when she looks into my eyes. Or when I look into her eyes or something.
Another one was Alex trying to talk in another language to stop this girl going away with
Water aerobics.
another guy. The water aerobics, that guy just ripping into me constantly.
Well, it was like the first day we did it, and it was like, this is nice and gentle, and it was like a couple of old ladies in there, and they'd obviously been put off by us. So the second day, when we were hanging, and the old ladies were like, well, we're not going to join in with the all those lads.
Yeah.
And then he was like, right, I've just got lads with me. Let's go for it. And hanging, I mean really hanging. I never thought I was going to get through that.
No. But it was a good time.
A couple of times I thought I was going to throw up.
I remember playing water polo, and the ball went out to the deep end, and me and you were on opposite teams, and we both were swimming after it. And because obviously you're a bit smaller and you're a bit quicker, you were ahead of me. And just as you were about to reach the ball, I remember by your trunks just put you down and got the ball, and yeah, that was good.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure
Ash assaulted you on that holiday.
Oh, was that holiday?
I'm pretty sure it's the first one.
No, I think that's the second. No, it's the second one.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because I missed the boat day because of it.
Oh yeah, fair enough. But yeah, so I've had loads of lovely like family holidays and stuff.
No, we've had had some in this country as well that were like really nice moments.
Yeah,
I'd say as an adult as well, like some really nice. Yeah, going like playing golf.
Yeah,
in like Cornwall. It's quite nice. I mean, Alex giving us some absolute Alex moments. Alex giving us the seminal Alex moment, by the way, when we were playing golf in Cornwall, and we'd watched these. We were like, oh, should we wait and let them play through? Because like golf etiquette suggests that if the people behind you are faster,
you let them go.
You stop and you let them play, and you let them go in front of you. And there's this first one teed off, and we were like, oh, I think we've got to let these guys play. Second one teed off, and we were like, yeah, okay, we'll wait.
Yeah.
So Alex has like sparked up a fag, and we're just standing there waiting for him having a chat. But the third one was not good. So he teed off like straight into the woods, and then he like struggled out. And he gets there, and we we'd had this. We were like, oh, we probably would have been all right, to be honest, going. But then they turn up, and I'm sure I've told this story on the pod before, but it's so good. And then they turn up, and they go, we're like, go on, guys, go ahead. and we sort of joked and went, well, we saw you teeing off. We knew we were going to have to let you, we knew. And Alex went, yeah. Well, we saw you two teeing off. Then we saw you teeing off, and it's like, bro, the guy's having a bad enough day. He does not need to be called out for it. He looks so angry, that guy. If looks, when people say if looks could kill, Alex would be dead. That guy would have murdered him.
Yeah. And the thing is, Alex is harmless. He wouldn't have meant it.
It was just so funny though. It was just so good.
Well, the thing is, I don't think everyone else is like our group of friends in the self-deprecating sense of just being open about how shit you are at things.
No, and being able to call each other out for being shit.
Yeah, so when like so you funny. Then come into other people, you just assume.
Oh, it's so good. Just him turning off me and like, well, we saw you two and we thought you were all right. Then we saw this guy. Thought, bloody hell.
Yeah, bless him. Alex is a good egg.
It's funny. Yeah, but it was so funny. That was a good holiday moment.
Alex is like a ball of like he's just there for so many moments, like funny moments, whether he's just there for it or was a part of it or caused it. He's just one of those
ever present.
Yeah, good lad. We'll have to get him back on soon.
Yeah, we do.
But yeah, I think that's a pod, mate.
I think it is. I think that's an episode.
I think that's a pod.
Congratulations, sir.
Yeah, you too.
An episode well done. An episode well done.
But guys, let us know what you think of the episode. Let us know if there's anything you'd like us to talk about. Please share, like, and subscribe.
Tell us your own holiday memories and
Yeah.
bad customer service experiences.
Tell us the worst experience you've ever had. Let us know how bad it can
How
get.
can they
out
tell
there.
us?
They can tell us, Jake. It's very good you asked that question. Thank you.
Thanks.
And it'll be somewhere here on the screen. But you can find us on Twitter at Swords Crossing, on Facebook, just Crossing Swords. You can find us on Instagram at CrossingSwords_podcast. And you can email us at CrossingSwords19@gmail.com.
Yes, you can.
And I think we'll call it a pod.
Yes, we can.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.